I started my graphic design company back in 2010 is when I officially incorporated. And then a few years later, it wasn't for a few years until I actually got into the beer industry. I do everything from beer labels to apparel to any sort of marketing, social media stuff that breweries need. And I got my start with Pizza Boy Brewing Company, who's local here to the Harrisburg area. And it's kind of a funny story because my name is Bartley Kaminski. I walked in there one day and handed his wife my credit card to start a tab. And she looked at it and said, "Oh, you're the Bartley Kaminski we've been seeing on social media. My husband, Albert Kaminski, and I own this place." So that's actually how I met Albert and got started. I was in there about a week later. Albert walked up and said, "Hey, Ski, you want to do my labels?" And that was that. That's how I got started. What happens, I think, is I feed off my clients a lot. So they'll come to me with like an initial idea, and then as I start designing the project, things will come to me that I'll add into it that actually make it better. But it's getting to a point where all these beer names are taken. So people are just starting to become more and more creative with their beer names, and they're starting to get way more outlandish than they used to be, which is actually pretty fun for me because it provides new challenges. I used to actually sketch out things on paper, and then what I would usually do is just take a picture with my phone, get it on the computer, and then go right to Adobe Illustrator to start redrawing. I usually don't need to draw things on paper first anymore, so usually what I'll do is I'll start right in Illustrator, especially if I have to draw a figure or an object or something to go on the can, and I'll get that nailed down first. I'll draw all my objects in Illustrator, and then I go into Photoshop where I add the color and then add all the effects to it as well. So there's TTB requirements that go into it. And after doing these long enough, I'm starting to get a feel for what has to be on there. Of course, the government warning has to be on there. You have to have the style of the beer on there, and they can be kind of picky too. It also depends on which TTB agent you get, because some of them will let things slide, whereas others won't. So for instance, with Stickman, I've run into issues where I had a person on there drinking a beer and that wasn't allowed. But then I've had characters drinking on other cans that the TTB actually approved. I've had guys like actually like holding bongs and things like that, smoking weed or pretending to smoke weed on a can, which wasn't allowed. And one time I actually had guys on a can smoking cigarettes, and the TTB made me put a statement on saying that this product does not contain any nicotine, which is kind of strange. There is like a brainstorming process too. A lot of times, some of my clients will have a name for the beer, but have no direction, and then we'll sit down and kick around some ideas before we get started. With Pizza Boy, generally, I will get a direction of what they're doing, but a lot of times I'll just get a name of a beer and Albert will look at me and be like, you know, run with it. And sometimes sometimes things hit me right away. Like I'll see the name of the beer and a concept will just pop in my head and I'll roll with it and they'll like it. But other times I struggle sometimes. I think any artist runs into blocks like that. I'd say about 90% of my clients sort of has a direction of where they want to go, or a specific idea of what they want me to draw, and then I just sort of bring it to life. And that's usually almost 100% of the case with a company or a brewery called Stickman Brews, and they're located in Royersford, PA. With Stickman Brews is I literally draw all stick figures. So I think I'm probably the only guy in the world that gets paid $60 an hour to draw stick figures, but you know, this is America. I actually really love labels that make fun of Albert. So we have one called Armored Shark, where we have a cartoon of Albert surfing, and he's about to be eaten by an armored shark. And then we did one recently called Simcoe Samurai, where I got to draw like a caricature of Albert, and he has a man bun, and he's a samurai and everything. So those are some of my favorites. But other than that, I like the classics. Like there's a few of them where I'm able to draw cartoons, and those are always fun. But I think some of my favorites are the classics, like the Mirren River, Sunny Side Up, labels like that.